Hey team, we're here for our second biodiversity lecture. I think in the last one I said that we were doing 3 total biodiversity lectures and I lied to you. I don't do that very often, but I did in that last lecture. We actually have 4 total biodiversity lectures, which is awesome because we get to talk about both plants and fungi today. And then we're going to have 2 more lectures on animals. I am biased. I guarantee if I was a botanist or a mycologist, a botanist studies plants and a mycologist studies fungi, if I were either of those kinds of humans, I would divide this up differently. We would do plants for a day and fungi for a day and then animals for one day. But I love the animal story and I tend to get super excited about critters and do all the crazy things. But by this time we're at lecture 23 and I think I get excited about everything. So it won't surprise you that I'm actually really excited to talk about plants and fungi as well. However, after that very long introduction to the topic, I imagine that there's going to be a lot of content that we're covering today. There are actually 9 clips, and we're going to start out by reminding ourselves of how plants and fungi sit in the cladogram of life, our giant cladogram that we are going to talk about now. And then we're going to revisit at the end of this lecture. And then we're going to do it again with our 2 different animal groups. So we're going to continually flesh this out. Before I move off this image, I just have to say, how can you not love fungi and plants? This could have been taken in my backyard. When I see this mushroom, I get so excited. It is seriously like finding an Easter egg or like living in Alice in Wonderland. I just find these fungi super cool looking and entertaining and sort of magical to find. And it's a really nice view of the relationship. If you find fungi, you often find plants nearby. And I suppose we could say that about every single diverse environment. The critters tend to be found all together. So we will look at why that is and have some conversations about this. Okay, but let's start with our giant cladogram. So for my brain, I operate best when I can start on the left. I do have to look at my hands to tell my right from my left. And I remind myself of the most primitive group of critters that go onto our list, and that is the bacteria. We did talk about bacteria in some detail in the last lecture, and we know that it just helps me start this way because I always mess up the label for this particular critter, which is the last universal common ancestor, our home kid, Luca. And Luca arrived, remember, 3.7 billion years ago. This was the evidence of first life. So Luca, that first prokaryotic cell, gave rise to 2 lines of critters, and bacteria were one of them. And the next line of critters, if you remember, got a characteristic that bacteria do not have, that only everybody else in the cladogram has, and that is the histone proteins. And you remember these guys because they help coordinate or they help organize the DNA in our nucleus and in the nucleus of the archaeans. Oops, that says archaeans. Remember, the archaeans were those prokaryotes that superficially look really similar to bacteria, but molecularly are very, very distinct, and in fact, more similar to eukaryotes like us than to bacteria, even though they both are prokaryotes, which means that everything beyond this is a eukaryote. So we have a nucleus. We could actually say membrane-bound organelles. There are lots of ways that we could talk about. Lots of characters we could add to that location on the cladogram. But I think the easiest one for us to remember is that, dude, everything beyond here has a nucleus. If it doesn't have a nucleus, it's going to be in the bacteria or archaean group. Here's where we're going to do some fleshing out. Like, here's where we map out what we're doing in this today. We're going to give rise to two different groups. I'm going to try, watch this. I'm going to show you that we're going to talk about land plants today. And the sister group, one of the things that I mentioned in the last lecture is that each one of our big groups of prokaryotes that we're going to talk about, fungi, animals, and plants, these are the three big overarching groups of eukaryotes, they all have a sister group that is a protist. And land plants, their sister groups are algae. We are going to flesh out this. We're going to flesh out the land plants today. That cladogram isn't going to stay one blurb. It's going to get expanded. And we're also going to expand this group. How am I going to do this? I guess I go like that. Land plants and algae are over there. We'll talk about how they get like their characteristics and what happens when we expand that cladogram. But we're also going to do fungi. And nobody knows what I just did. But we're doing this. Because the sister group to fungi, we are also going to expand. The sister group to the fungi are those nuclearids. And they are single-celled critters that have similarities to fungi. And the characteristic that unites all of fungi and animals is the presence of the molecule chitin. I'm going to go ahead and do all animals with their protist sister group. And the animals are all going to be in one block. And then the sister group are called choanoflagellates. I honestly can't remember if we did this yet. Choanoflagellates. And I'm 99% sure that's how you spell it, but I always misspell it. I've been practicing today as I've been prepping for this lecture. Land plants are today, fungi are today, and animals, as I said, are coming at us in the next two lectures. So each of those circled critter groups are going to be expanded. Now, could you expand bacteria or archaea? We totally could, and it could get bonkers. And no thank you. Take microbiology to expand on those and we'll be just fine. Could we expand algae? Yes, we could expand any one of these groups on this cladogram. This is a very generalized and superficial cladogram. Even though you might look at it and be like, oh my God, this is so complicated. It could be a lot worse. So we'll just take a minute to appreciate that this is what we're looking at. I do want to add a couple of other characteristics. I see that I didn't add the characteristic that defines animals, which was, I'm pretty sure it's signaling proteins. I always forget the connection between choanoflagellates and animals, but then the characteristic that defines the animals is the presence of a blastula during development. And all of these things we'll talk about in detail with the animal group. The rest of this we're going to flesh out today. We get to start with looking at the fungi. Okay, bye.